We are right at the top of the hour, so we want to go ahead and get started. My name is Chris Carlson, president of The Marketing Coach, and I want to welcome you to our webinar today, 7 Marketing Strategies to Double Your Revenue. Now, I am really excited and appreciative of the fact that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to visit with us today. So here is my commitment to you is number one is we're going to keep the webinar relatively short. My experience in doing webinars over the years is after about 30 minutes, people really start to get involved with other things, be it emails or other projects. So we're going to keep it to those 30 minutes or less. I made a promise to you in the video leading up to the invitation for this webinar is no selling. This webinar is not a 30-minute sales pitch for a product or service that I have to offer. Rather, it's just some ideas and some strategies that you can implement in your business, your practice to help you grow your business. So relax and don't think that it's going to be a sales pitch. And then finally, if you have any questions on anything that I covered today, please feel free to email me any of those questions at chris@themarketingcoachnw.com, and I'll display that email address a little bit later. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Strategy number one is to pay attention to the 3 M's. Now, many of you might have seen this marketing triangle in the past, and the 3 sides of the triangle are the message, the market, and the media. And why this is so important is so often is that business owners forget what their market really is. And what I mean by this is they believe that more is better. Well, the reality is better is better. So let me give an example. Let's say you're a home builder of high-end custom homes and you're building those homes for $2 million or more is the value. Well, certainly not everybody in your geographical area is in the market for a $2 million home. What that high-end home builder needs to do is find out what are the common characteristics of people who are buying $2 million plus homes. And there's so much information out there today available from list companies and list brokers, and it goes down to the nth degree. But what we need to do is to find out, what the market really is. Now, conversely, let's say you're a neighborhood restaurant. Well, maybe your market involves everybody within a 5-mile radius of your restaurant, regardless of what their socioeconomic situation is. So again, it is very, very critical that you understand who your market is and spend the time to make sure that you understand that. Otherwise, you're going to be very frustrated on the way you spend your marketing dollars. The second thing is certainly the message. And here's something I think is very, very critical is you have to remember the following. The message that you are trying to get to your market is not the message that is selling you. It is the message that is selling your potential customer. And so what you have to do is you have to enter the conversation that your potential customer is already having in his or her head. What is that conversation? Too often business owners are really impressed with the things that they put out in a message of a marketing piece because it sells them. But that's not the key, is we have to make sure we understand what are the needs, wants, and desires or problems that our target market is having, and then let's create a message that is laser beam focused on that. And once we understand who our market is, what that message should be, then we can determine what the media or medium that we're going to use to get that message to that market. And that could be something that is online, it could be something that is offline, or it could be a combination of the two. Unfortunately, today, too many business owners are infatuated with things that are going on online, if you will. And be it Facebook or be it Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram or any of the other social media avenues that are out there, and they think that because it's new, that it's better. It may be the case, it may not be the case. But here's the real key when it comes to what media or medium you should choose. You have to ask yourself, is where are my targeted customers hanging out? And I'll put hanging out in air quotes. And what I mean by that is, where are they consuming information? Are they consuming information online, be it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram? Are they consuming information with periodicals like weekly magazines? Are they consuming information on the daily newspaper or TV or radio or podcast? You have to understand your market so well that once you do that and you craft a message, you now know where to place, that message, because that's where your prospects are hanging out. So again, make sure you understand, what media you're going to use, and please don't hear me and don't think that I'm saying that it's either online or offline exclusively. For most businesses out there, it's probably some combination of the two, but don't get captivated or don't get intoxicated with the shiny new object. And too often they're rushing online where many of their best marketing opportunities are actually offline. Strategy number 2 is investment versus expense. I think it's critical that you view your marketing as an investment, not an expense. I talk to business owner after business owner after business owner who the first question is how much is this going to cost me? Well, that leads me to believe that they're thinking this as an expense, not an investment, as opposed to asking, how much can I invest in my marketing efforts? And the real key is we need to make sure, or you need to make sure, that you understand your return on investment. So, as an example, if you were to do a postcard campaign and you spent $2,000 and you knew that it returned $10,000 of sales, and let's just say that your margins are 50%, you make 50% profit. How many times are you going to spend those $2,000? It's probably as often as you can. Coincidentally, if you spend $50,000 on a radio campaign and you get $10,000 in revenue, you're probably not going to continue that radio campaign. The key to this is you need to measure, measure, and measure. Only by measuring can you determine what your return on investment is. So no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing something online, you're doing something offline, whether you're doing direct mail or radio or TV or email or Facebook ads or Google search, whatever it happens to be, make sure that you have metrics in place that you can measure the effectiveness of every dollar that you spend. Because then you can determine where it makes sense to continue to invest those dollars. So 2 critical things here is number 1, make sure you look at marketing as an investment versus an expense, and make sure you're measuring everything that you do in your marketing efforts, because then you can decide where the best place is to spend that money. Third strategy is what I call a marketing calendar. And I think this is something that so many businesses overlook. Is what I know is so many of them have a production schedule for other parts of their business. And, be it manufacturing, be it payroll, whatever it happens to be, is they have a very set schedule and they stick to it. But for whatever reason, they don't have a marketing calendar. And if you don't have a marketing calendar, what tends to happen is that you tend to do marketing when you feel like it or when there's free time. And of course, we know as a business owner, there's never free time. So why it's so important is to create a marketing calendar is that it allows you to plug in what you're going to do, and then you can create templates. You can create templates such as, be it email templates or newsletter templates or postcard templates or letter templates or Facebook ad templates or radio ad templates or whatever it happens to be. And then what you're able to do now that you have a marketing calendar and the template is created, all you have to do is to fill in the template. It makes it so much easier for you to actually execute your marketing plan. So my advice is, the simplest way to get started is just to go to your computer and print out a blank calendar for whatever month that you're looking to start your marketing, and start to fill in what you want to do on a particular date. And look, it's not as easy as that, but that's the way that you get started. So let me give you an example. Let's just say, for an example, that on the first Monday of the month, I'm going to send out a postcard to my prospects. Well, if I know that I'm going to mail it out on the first Monday of the month, that probably means that the previous week is I need to make sure that I get it to my printer, and maybe my printing company is the one that mails it out, but I need to get it to them so they can do the production. So, but having a commitment to do a marketing activity now allows me to plan for that marketing activity. So again, I find that for most business owners, If we can get them started on a marketing calendar, it is the best first step that they can make if they're doing no or sporadic marketing at the current time. The fourth strategy is to have what I call a RAP, or a referral action plan. Now, I'm going to spend most of the time on this particular webinar on the probably more B2B than B2C. But if you are in the B2C world, is you need to have some form of referral program, be it a coupon, be it a reward that you can reward your current clients for giving you referrals. I'm going to spend a few extra minutes on this particular webinar and more of the B2B space is where we think in terms of either you or maybe your salespeople are asking for referrals from centers of influence. So here are a few steps that I'd like for you to make and think about rather when you think about referrals. So really 5 steps. Number 1 is you have to have goals. What is the goal for the number of referrals that either you and or your organization wants to have per week? And I can't tell you what that number is. Maybe in your business it's 1. Maybe it's 51, depending on the size of your company. But you need to have a goal for the number of referrals that you want in a particular time frame. Because if you don't set the goal, you're not going to get there. The second thing you need to do after you've determined that goal is you really need to clearly identify your centers of influence. Those people that are so influential that if you can get them to be your advocate, and you have the guts rather to go out and ask them for a referral, that it's going to pay big dividends. So make sure you take time to identify current and potential centers of influence. The next thing you do is you need to plan, because so often what happens is we have this lots of energy and we want to get referrals, but we never ask anybody. So here's my recommendation. Let's just say that, I look at my calendar for the coming week and I say, wow, here are 4 people that I can meet or are going to be already scheduled to meet that I already know can really help me get introductions to additional clients. So what I want to do is just make a plan to make sure that I'm going to talk to them this coming week regarding referrals. Now, what I need to do is I need to kind of cheat, if you will. And what I need to do is find out who they might already know. So let me do some research on those people that I'm going to meet next week. So whether I Google them or I go to LinkedIn or I go to their website or I find out who they're connected to on boards of directors that they might sit on, I need to find some names that I can put in front of them when I meet with them to make sure I can get a response. Because here's the biggest challenge we get when we try to get referrals or when we ask for a referral. We ask something like, hey, Bob, who do you know that you can introduce me to? And Bob typically says, can't think of anybody right now, but when I do, I'll let you know. And they rarely do. Not because they're mean people, it's just that they get busy and their world overtakes them and they forget to give you a referral. So what we need to do is come up with anywhere from 2 to 4 names that when we meet with them, is we put a 3x5 card in front of them that has those 2 to 4 names. And now we say, hey, Bob, knowing what you know about my business and knowing what you know about the people on this card, who would it make sense for you to introduce me to? Now Bob has got to concentrate on those 4 names. It's not just a vague, empty mental Rolodex that he's trying to go through. He's going to sit there and tell you why he thinks or that they would be a great fit or maybe doesn't be a great fit. But since I've done the research, I've put in front of him names that I am confident that he already knows. So that's a way that a very short explanation of a way that you can start to get more and better referrals. The 5th marketing strategy is what I call publish. And it is so exciting in today's world, the things that we can do when it comes to publishing. So many opportunities for little or no money that we can get the word out in our marketing efforts. Now, the first thing you ought to be thinking about is a webinar. And here we are in a webinar. Webinars are great ways to get information out to lots of people and really maximize your time and your effort. And one of the things that webinars do is they allow people to form an opinion of you. Now, I hope that as you're listening to this webinar, that you're forming a positive opinion of, Chris Carlson and the marketing coach. That would be great. And we may or may not do business sometime in the future. Now, maybe the impression is negative. Well, I'm not going to take it personally, but if for some reason what I say doesn't resonate with you, well, then there's no reason for me to pursue you as a prospect or a client. What it allows me to do is help qualify. And so the technology for webinars is so good. And so why not take advantage of getting out information, to your targeted market? Now, here's the thing I would say is that I've seen too many webinars where it really is all a sales pitch. And if my advice is to not make your webinars a sales pitch, but to give great information to your targeted market. That doesn't mean that you can't sell on a webinar, but if it's a 100% sales pitch, then I think people are going to tune out relatively early. So add value, add value, add value, and I think that the webinars will pay long-term dividends. The second thing you could do is a webcast. Now, the biggest difference between a webinar and a webcast is typically a webcast involves some form of face-to-camera type interaction. You could be sitting at your desk with a webcam where people are seeing you talk, or maybe you're in a studio with very elaborate either whiteboards or PowerPoint presentations. I think what we're going to see more and more of is people doing webcast as opposed to webinars, because there are so many people who are visuals as opposed to just auditory. So it's the next evolution, I believe, in webinars. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can just do what you see in front of you right now, which is really using a PowerPoint type presentation to give information. The next thing you can do is to write a book. I think this is probably the single most important thing for business owners to do, is to write a book. And really what a book does is establish credibility. It becomes the ultimate business card. So let me give you an example. Let's just say that you're a financial planner and your target market is physicians. I mean, you can write a book entitled 7 Biggest Financial Planning Mistakes All Physicians Make. And that's the title of the book. And here's the thing to keep in mind is that book differentiates you between the competition. Now, maybe you're a restaurateur and you write my mother's favorite 50 recipes, and that becomes a book. And what it does, it just sets you apart. And here's the good news about writing a book. It's never been easier to write a book today. Using resources like Amazon through their CreateSpace subsidiary, you literally can upload a Word document tonight and be a published author tomorrow. And the great thing about Amazon is they will print the books, they'll ship the books, and they will pay you a royalty on every book that you sell. You have no hard dollar investment other than your particular time and effort to write the book. And so I really do believe that it is one of the best differentiators that you can have out there. So really consider, writing a book. And there's so many ways that you can write the book. You can even dictate the book and then have it transcribed. So don't think that you have to do it the old way. We're in front of a computer just pounding out hour after hour after hour. Another way to publish is to do a podcast. I think that doing a podcast is probably the easiest way to get into a particular market. And let me give you an example. Let's just say that I was to parachute in your town and my target market, and I'll say for an example that I am an insurance agent selling life insurance and investment products to business owners. Well, what I would do if I was parachuted into your town is I would start a podcast, and it would be, I'd call it the blank, when the fill in the blank, the name of your town, Business Weekly. And all I would do was just interview business owners about their business, how they got started, what were the challenges getting started, talk about the evolution of their business, what are their challenges right now, what impact does the economy have on their business, what impact does the global economy have on their business, where do they see the future is going to be, those types of things. And all I am doing is just asking them about their business. I'm not selling them anything. I'm not trying to get them to buy insurance or investment products. But what it allows me to do is get in front of, in this case, my target market is business owners, get in front of those business owners on a favorable basis, faster than probably anything else that I can do. And so right now, podcasting is a tremendous opportunity. And you can do this no matter what business that you're in. Now, here's a real secret. Imagine if I combine referrals with podcasting. So I'm talking to my centers of influence and I'm saying, hey, Bob, who would it make sense for me to invite to be a guest on my show? And so it's a tremendous way. I will promise you, you will be amazed at the types of relationship that you can quickly develop just as a result of doing a podcast. Marketing strategy number 6 is direct mail. Now, many people go, oh, direct mail. Well, I am here to tell you that direct mail is one of the most effective ways for you to market to your target audience. And the reason why is our inboxes are full. If you're like me, you wake up every morning and there are literally dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of emails, and those continue throughout the day. And many of them are solicitations for something. And because our world are becoming so much more complicated, at least it seems, is what we're doing is we're deleting, 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 deleting. So those marketing messages are not getting through. Well, the reality is that our mailbox is not full. And here's the reason why. See, if I send out some type of sales message through email, at the end of the day, it really doesn't cost me anything. Yeah, I probably have an email provider, and maybe I work with a company that puts together really cool e-newsletters or whatever it happens to be. But here's my point, is I don't have to worry about the quality of the email because there's no investment. Now, on the other hand, if I send out a letter or I send out a postcard or whatever else I'm sending out, that's costing me money. So the good news is that I have to spend the extra time and effort to make sure that I'm getting a good return on my investment. Well, since a lot of people don't want to do that, they are not doing the direct mail the way that maybe they did 20, 30, 40 years ago. So the point is this, your mailbox typically is not full, and it certainly is not full in relation to what your email inbox is. Additionally, I want to make the point is that your direct mail should be for prospects. It shouldn't be necessarily something that you are sending postcards or letters to current customers. Now, I think that might be pretty obvious, but I think it's why it's really important to make sure that you segregate your database to know who's a prospect and who's a current client. So again, direct mail, be it a postcard, be it a letter, primary target is certainly the prospects. And then why do it? Well, it works. And you think about the millions or hundreds of millions, in fact, billions of dollars that are spent in this country on direct mail by very sophisticated marketers. Why do they do it? They do it because it works. They know that it works. Is the very best direct mail marketing companies is they know what their return on investment is. So they know if they spend $10, they're going to make $20, or they spend, $1 million, they're going to make $5 million because they measure it. And by doing that, that's why they continue to do it. And so again, there's very little competition in the direct mail business the way there is in the email marketing business. And finally, strategy number 7 is I think it is critical that you do a newsletter, hard copy, you print it and you mail it to your current clients. Here's what we know. Most companies are doing e-newsletters, e-zines, and some people would call them. And the problem is that the open rates average about 15%. That means that 85% of the people who you're trying to communicate with are not receiving your message for whatever reason. Spam, they're too busy, they're no longer interested. So why would we knowingly do something where 85% of the people we're trying to reach are not even paying attention? I'm a firm believer that when your competitor, you need to zig when your competitors zag. We need to do the polar opposite of what our competitors are doing. Everybody's flooding to e-newsletters. And hey, 10 years ago, e-newsletters made a lot of sense. They're becoming less and less and less effective every single day. So why not make sure that your message is getting read? And again, your primary target for a newsletter is going to be current clients and centers of influence. You have the ability to get your message read. And one of the reasons why is a newsletter has shelf life. So if the newsletter comes into mail today, into my mailbox, I might not read it the moment that I get it. I might put it aside. I might read it later on this evening, or maybe I'm going to be on a plane tomorrow and I catch up on all my reading. Newsletters have shelf life. Very few emails have any form of shelf life other than the time it takes me to delete. All the studies out there are telling us, even the millennials, even the younger people, would rather get things in hard copy, be it a direct mail piece or be it a newsletter. People still do read. So think about doing a newsletter to your most important and valuable clients. I'm not here to tell you that if you have a database where you have 10,000 clients, that necessarily you do a 10,000 piece newsletter. Maybe you have 500 core clients, and maybe you do a newsletter for just those 500, and then you do other things for the other 9,500. you have to determine what's right for your business. So, what we've talked about today in terms of strategies are pay attention to the 3 M's, think of marketing in terms of an investment versus expense, make sure that you commit to doing a marketing calendar, make sure you set up a referral action program or a RAP, think about the ways that you can use publishing to your advantage, make sure that you're using direct mail, and finally, make sure that you're doing a printed newsletter for your most important clients. Now, a lot of these things are contained in a book that I recently wrote called Prospecting Through Positioning. So if you're interested, you can pick up that book on Amazon. And I think you'll get some additional details on some of the things that I talked about today. And if you want to go a little deeper, we have an audio program called Marketing Magic, and it's how to dominate your market using the Ultimate Marketing Program. You can request that information on our website. So hopefully today I've given you some ideas. I looked at this program today as really my job was to plant some seeds. Just to plant some seeds in your mind that you can then water, and then hopefully what it's going to do is produce the types of crops, if you will, and the marketing ideas and actual deliverables that you can use in your business. If you want anything from us, please feel free to go to our website, themarketingcoachnw.com, and you can reach me at chris@themarketingcoachnw.com if you have any questions regarding this webinar or anything else that we might be able to do for you. So with that, I want to thank you for a few minutes of your time. Hopefully you got a nugget or two that you can use in your particular business, and we look forward to seeing you on future webinars.